I'm going to show you how a frisbee can help you hit longer golf shots with less effort. Now this might seem rather simplistic, but the key to using a frisbee is about opening up your mindset, your awareness of a positive release, a natural release. You see, when we play golf, we for some reason seem to get stuck in our heads, minds, with all the information that we're given, and we end up freezing either over the ball or becoming too tentative through impact. And what I did with one of my students, I gave him a frisbee, and by doing this, it enabled him to have that aha moment that gave him the trust, the feel, and the correct wrist conditions to be able to release the golf club with more power, with less restriction, and to add, even with a 7-iron, an extra 25 yards instantly. And I'm going to show you how you can do it as well. And what we see here is my student Phil. Now, what he's doing is very typical through the ball. He is generally trying to muscle it. He actually has a pretty darn good backswing when he does it correctly, but too often as he's approaching the ball, everything just sort of stalls down because he's got too much intention of hitting sort of at it and just being too tentative. So through the ball, everything is quite passive. It's almost like he's getting back to his address position, but there's not enough movement that is bringing us through this way. There's not enough intention getting us this way. We'd only just started working through it, but his first few attempts were typical for what people tend to do. He was still trying to steer it as he was releasing. It didn't quite have that extra little zip through the ball. And let me show you why. If I gave you $100 for every yard that you could throw this frisbee, I wager that you wouldn't do it the way people tend to do it in a golf swing, which is use all of the body to try and heave it through. If I wanted to get as much distance out of this, throwing this frisbee, I wouldn't use my body that way. The natural feeling would be much more of a whip and release. That's how I would garnish speed. I would be releasing my wrists, and the back of my hand would be turning over and throwing it that way. And it has a snap at the end. That's where the distance comes from. That's where the release comes from. And you see how my body is still in this sort of shape? I'm not all the way around. So after a few rehearsals of this, what Phil was able to do was actually get a better sort of speed through the ball and releasing the back of the hand so the palms almost facing up a little bit more and snapping it that way. That's what the power release feels like. And you can see Phil working here. He's getting a better release now. He's releasing it a little bit earlier. He's not holding on to it quite as much. And you'll see here, there's a very good demonstration of a nice wind up, okay? There is the transfer of the weight down, and now he's releasing it through. Okay, that was a rehearsal where he kept practicing it. That was the sensation, to transfer the weight, then release here, but not allow the whole body to spin around with it. This is what gave the aha feel. What I want you to do right now is stand up and go and grab a frisbee if you've got one. If not, we can always use something else like a phone or a plate just to kind of have that sensation, but obviously we're not going to have that release. And that's why we're doing this inside, because I can release it at a screen, at a curtain, whatever it might be, or even just playing with someone else throwing the frisbee. Even if you don't have a frisbee, just grab your phone, okay? Grab your phone and hold it so maybe the screen is always facing up, so you know that's like the top of the frisbee. And what we're going to do is make a little backswing here, and I want you to have that sensation of what would it feel like to be spinning and releasing this phone that way, okay? What would happen? I wouldn't end up tipping it this way to ski it up to the sky. I wouldn't end up whipping around the top over here. We're trying to eradicate many swing faults just by having this effort in focus to the release. What you see here is the Hack Motion Wrist Analyzer. This is a perfect tool to educate yourself but also for me to help demonstrate, to give you a visual of what's kind of happening through the bad and the better swings. A lot of times when we lose power, what seems to happen is, as I said, the body stalls, and then we kind of get a little bit stuck and we try and sort of force everything around this way. And as far as how the wrists work, what we want to actually feel is quite a lot of neutrality, but as we're entering the impact area, we want that club face to be squaring for one thing, but we want it to be releasing with the same sensation that we had with the frisbee. If I was to hold it on like the bad frisbee throw, what you might see is an open club face and the wrists being way too sort of either flexed, where we're just sort of holding on to that angle too much, okay, where it's not releasing and the ball ends up going right. Or we can end up doing something like, you know that you're sort of leading too much with the upper body and this club face is lagging way behind. So you think, oh crap. So then you end up sort of flipping the wrists and they end up being this very sort of weak delivery into the ball that looks something like this. Okay? Not the best demonstration there, but you get the idea. And you can see there, again, there was too much action going through the ball. Using the frisbee again, you might not see the numbers with the hack motion because I'm not actually hitting anything. I want to try and really emphasize that feeling. And as you can see, as I'm going through, what's happening to those numbers, okay? It's giving me that range that I want to be in. I don't want to be way open that way. I don't want to be spinning the body this way. Allowing that frisbee to turn over and release that way. So the back of the hand is facing down more as I snap it through. So after a couple of shots trying to get that sensation, I'm just going to try and replicate it to snap it through. I'm not going full here, but we're getting to a much better range now. Ignore my backswing component because I'm just really trying to focus on the release here. But I got the right release. I got the powerful release. You've got to be wary of not sort of overdoing it a little bit too much, okay? That's where I was too flexed, where I was really bowing it just a little bit too much there. And one of the best things about doing this, it works perfectly on the course, because too often we get stuck in thinking about what I have to do here, 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 here. This is much more positive, where we're focusing on something that we're trying to send that way. We're releasing that way. Our intent, our energy is moving towards the desired target. And that in itself is very powerful, not just for power and distance, but for consistency and confidence. It gives you something affirmative to focus on. So as you ramp up your practice, if you can get yourselves one of these hack motion sensors, and you can actually learn more about it below and get a discount just for being one of our followers here, but you can start educating yourself to say, okay, what does that feel like? What happens when I do certain things? If a ball goes to the right, okay, why did that happen? And with the feedback that the hack motion gives you, you can start educating yourself and understanding what those feels mean to you. The difference in distance, for one thing, is going to be really quite shocking for you. Because if you try and have that all body toss with the frisbee, if I try and do that, okay, a bit exaggerated, but the distances are going to be nowhere near what you're after, or what they could be when you allow the frisbee release, the back of the hand to pull you out, to extend you out. Even with a short golf swing, okay, you can release better and get much more speed and power without any extra effort. It's perfect for older golfers. It's perfect for people that just want to have the swing and the game feel just a little bit easier. The hack motion device does a lot more than what you've just seen. It really is a very good piece of kit. It's easy to use, but what I love so much about it is it's enabling you to sort of educate yourself. Several of my students have got it, and it's enabled us to have extra feedback, of course, to see exactly what they're doing. But when you have your parameters and when you know where you need to be and what you need to feel at the top of the swing, in the transition, and the release like we've talked about today, and impact, really good things happen, and it simplifies the swing. And that's why I love this tech. Learn more about it below. So there you have it. Get a frisbee, get better at golf, use that release, and start feeling it as you hit golf shots. The back of the hand, that release there, there's beauty in simplicity, and that will do the trick. If you enjoyed this lesson, check out here, because it's going to give you the backswing feel that is going to really enhance the acceleration and prepare you for a positive release and more distance. Check it out here. Thanks for watching.